we're going to walk you through a step-by-step representation of the diagonal sit. So keep in mind, this exercise is specifically designed to reorient the acetabulum. So we have an acetabulum on the right that is actually right-oriented. It's facing out to the right. The left one's going to be facing a little bit more down and forward, and we're actually going to turn those relative to the rest of the pelvis, so we can actually put the acetabulum in positions that will allow us to access relative motions. So we're going to show you a couple ways to do it wrong, and then we'll make sure that you walk away from this with the correct sequence. Okay, so Eric's down on the ground. So I got to get behind him to track the camera down here. All right. All right. So a couple of things. What is not a diagonal sit? Would you orient your knees into 90-degree angles, please? So open this one up. So we get the 90. Turn yourself towards the camera if you would. There, boss. Like turn everything so everybody can see your legs. There you go. This is not a diagonal sit. Okay, this is not going to produce enough of the external rotation that is required to reorient the acetabulum. So we would not get the same effect that we would with the appropriate diagonal sit. So what we want to do is we're going to create an angle on the front side knee first. So take your left foot, put it against your right anterior thigh with the toes right at the knee. So this angle is now the angle we're going to base the back leg position off of. So we're going to match the front angle with the back angle. Okay. And so I'm going to tighten this up just a little bit for you there, boss. There you go. Okay, now straight ahead is actually in line with his left femur. So straight ahead is now over here. And so if we look at his hand position, if I can sit down far enough, there we go. So we look at his hand position, the heels of his hands are on a line that is direct contact with the anterior aspect of his left knee. So that's where you're going to set up your hands. So we've got leg position, knee position, and hand position. He's going to push away from the ground through the heels of his hands, and then he's going to gently push the right knee into the ground. Now, the tendency for folks is to push harder, thinking harder is better, and that would actually be the mistake. So I'm going to have Eric exaggerate the push into the ground, and what you're actually going to see is you're going to see him anteriorly orient on this side, and that's going to be a fail as well, because again, what we're going to end up doing is we're going to be driving way too much internal rotation into the system here. We create an anti-orientation, and we actually make everything worse, because what that pelvis is going to do is going to push down, and it's going to create a situation where we can't even get the femur into the right position. So the way I would describe this is if the direction is if you're coming out of a right foot cut, so you'd be planting your right foot to go left, that would be the knee contact, but the knee contact is just light enough that you feel a single spot on the back side of the right greater trochanter. So if you were looking at somebody's right front pocket, it would be just on the back side of that, and it's one tiny little spot where you feel that pressure, and it should be no more than that. Okay? Now, he's long through the arms, so he's actually going to feel a little bit of tension between the scapulae. You're going to feel some expansion because we're going to drive some breaths here in just a second. But what I don't want you to think of is that this should be easy and relaxed. This actually is a twisted position because we're creating an untwist in this circumstance. So we're not chasing relative motions per se in this activity. When you get done, you actually might gain some, but that's not the intention. We're actually trying to reorient some hip sockets here. The last thing you're going to do is you're going to lift the left knee up towards your nose. And so the left knee is going to clear the floor. You're going to lift that up towards your nose. Now, here's what you don't want to do. So do the roll back for me there, boss. So if you pick it up and they roll backwards, that's another fail. Okay? So we've got three things that we want to intend to. We got a right knee going into the ground. We have enough muscle activity on the back side of the hip that you feel that tension, but it's not going to create the orientation. We've got arms pushing down into the ground through the heels of the hands. Last thing you're going to do is lift the left knee towards your nose. Then we're going to drive some air. So you're going to breathe in through your nose, silently, out through your mouth, and you're just going to do a series of breaths, and then you're going to retest. So the thing that we're going to recapture under this circumstance in most cases is going to be a late hip ER. Late hip ER. So that's going to be the table test that you're going to use to confirm that you were successful with your diagonal sit.